one, in Kumail Nanjiani, a very brief appearance by Patton Oswalt as well. But I'll let you start us off. What did you think of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire?
Um, I was quite disappointed in it. Um, the uh, I liked the Afterlife film
Yes.
uh quite a bit, and I thought it was really an original take on how to bring this thing back. But I felt like Frozen Empire, um, it just kind of it felt like it was a retread. It kind of felt like first of all, I didn't think the story made a whole lot of sense. But I can let a lot of things go to just look at like ghosts flying around and making me laugh. But it didn't, there were a few laugh out loud moments, but it wasn't like killing me with the comedy. But it just kind of, I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. And I saw so much. I mean, it's one thing to like tip your cap to the original, but it's another
Right.
thing where, there was in the original two, there's an issue with the holding of the ghosts and the firehouse, and the EPA ended up, demanding that it be released, and then all these ghosts were loosed on Manhattan. Well, that's kind of what happened here in a different way, uh, for a different need. But we were constantly looking at that holding self, for lack of a better phrase, and I'm just like, gosh, I feel like we've been here before. Um, and
Yeah.
then there were issues like I thought Carrie Coon is like one of our great actresses, and I just kind of felt like she was grossly underused in this. Much bigger part in the first one.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I don't know. I just kind of overall, I thought it was very, very disappointing. I thought Kumail Nanjiani stole the movie, um, which is great. I love him, and he certainly got the most laughs in the theater I was at. But it's just kind of a bit of a disappointment. Now, I don't know if that's because Jason Reitman only wrote this one and didn't direct it too. We have a new director with Gil Kenan. Um, but I don't know. I was just disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I hear you. I too wasn't necessarily wowed. I mean, I really did like Afterlife. I think that was a nice reboot. It had some touching moments to it. Really did focus on the family, the Spanglers, and just, how they tied in with Egon, and just the whole ending of it was just so great, and the CG Harold Ramis at the end. So I was down. I was down, and I was kind of excited about hearing about a sequel to it. I thought, okay, maybe we can move forward with this and have a new story. I mean, look, Ghostbusters 2 didn't
Mm-mm.
go over as well either. But here's the thing that so I had fun with this. I did. I had fun with it. I thought it was light. I thought, there's enough nostalgia in there that kept me going, especially with the old crew. And yes,
Hmm.
I think Kamal was one of the, highlights, especially that little scene with Bill Murray. That alone there made it for me. Made okay. That's what I love about these movies. And that's what this movie lacked. It just didn't have enough comedy to it. I mean, even the Afterlife one, it had some comedy too, but it didn't necessarily need the kind of comedy that we were used to for Ghostbusters, because we were sort of building a new world.
Hmm.
And McKenna Grace and Finn Wolfhard as the young bloods, they're great, but they're not funny. Like, that was the whole point about Ghostbusters, and why it was so good was that it brought together these, amazingly funny guys who had already established themselves as, great comic actors from SNL and then into movies. Um, and so you knew it was going to be funny, and it wasn't. It was just so cleverly written, and just, yeah, Bill Murray alone. That's what I missed in this one. I missed Bill Murray. I missed that kind of comedy. That they needed someone like that. And Paul Rudd, God bless him, I think he's fantastic. wasn't it, he kind of was, not trying to be Bill Murray, but certainly he's more of the comic relief as well as Kamal, but Kamal, didn't have enough to do. And I completely agree with you on Carrie Coon. Completely underutilized. She just did not. Yeah, the first one she was great, and here she just didn't get to do much of anything. It was really McKenna Grace's story, of course, again, and that was kind of muddled too. There seemed to be a lot of
Yeah,
extra stuff
yeah.
going on that just didn't really mesh with what the action was. I thought the villain was, this new ghost was pretty cool and scary, and I liked the idea of it. But you're right, it was very retread. It didn't, like I said, I had enough fun with it that I was okay with all of that, but I feel like as a movie, standalone movie, even if you're just a minor fan of Ghostbusters, it's going to disappoint you because there's just not, the story just does not uh, follow through as well. It suffers from that second, like the second Ghostbusters. But here's the thing: the second Ghostbusters was still hilarious because you had Peter
Mhm.
McNichols, art historian guy who was just so weird and funny, and and you just had that whole New York feeling to it as well, especially with the big climactic ending to that. And I don't know, even though it did not measure up at all to the first one, and nothing's ever going to measure up to the first one. I mean, you agree? I mean, there's just that
Oh yeah,
is
no.
that's like a standalone iconic comedy classic that will never be matched. It just can't be matched.
Well, and
So
it was such a retread that they even brought back William
yeah,
Atherton,
yeah.
uh,
Walter Peck.
who Walter Peck, who was 40 years ago, he was a representative of the EPA. And we're supposed to believe 40 years later, 4 decades later, he's now the mayor of New York.
Yeah,
Like, you wanted him in this story so badly that you made him the mayor. Like,
yeah,
I, I feel like, that guy would have been retired. Like,
yeah. That was a little embarrassing, I thought.
that was just like weird. I'm like, okay, you're really, you can tip your hat, like I said, to the nostalgia, but like, kind of like just we've seen this movie, and
Yeah.
it was great 40 years ago. Um, and then
And even
like,
though the new cast and stuff, gives a little more, it makes it a little different. It's still not different enough.
right, and Ernie Hudson, with his like Ghostbusters lab, is just like, are Ghostbusters Batman now?
I know.
They're developing all this tech and this and that, and I don't know. I can appreciate wanting to expand things, but yeah, I just kind of just felt flat, and I
Yeah.
even McKenna Grace, like she was such a bright spot in the first one, and I think she's does a admirable job, very admirable job in this one.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like maybe they have a little bit of a female problem in this movie too, because I don't think they used her that great in this movie. And
No.
I mean, they literally benched her. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm just kind of like, God bless her, she went out on her own, not giving anything away, but she wasn't just going to sit there.
No.
Um, and I thought that was a cute little story that she had with, I don't want to say because I feel like that's giving away, but you
Well,
know
yeah.
that I thought that was touching. But then
But was it? I mean, I just didn't think it
but
was
then
needed. I just didn't think it was needed.
and then there was like a kind of a twisty thing to that, and I was like, no, 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 just no. Um,
Well, actually, that didn't surprise me, the little twist to that. But at the same time, I don't know. It just, yeah. I mean, maybe it sets up something for her character, for McKenna's character, Phoebe, later, I guess. I don't know. Let me ask you before we get into our star ratings. I mean, do you think they should stop? Or do you think maybe if they did a third movie with Sigourney Weaver and the kid,
um,
Oscar, like Oscar would be an adult now? I don't know. What do you think? I'm just curious.
from a pure business point of view, there is absolutely no way they're going to stop. Hollywood, Hollywood, if nothing, and I don't mean to be cynical, but I mean,
Yeah.
Hollywood, if they are nothing, if not looking for IPs, and
Right.
the Ghostbuster name, they just slap it, Ghostbuster Frozen Empire, Ghostbuster Afterlife, Ghostbuster, there's a ghost in a Sunkist can. I mean,
Yeah.
I just keep making these movies because people will go and it'll sell internationally and it'll certainly stream. People will buy it and rent it.
Right.
Um, and also Sony. I mean, Sony has shown that they are very willing to milk the cow as much as they can.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Madame Web. I mean, that's like a very minor Spider-Man universe character, and they made a whole movie out of it.
Yeah.
They're trying everything, and
Yeah.
we got greenlit a Venom 3. And, again, I just, yeah, given Sony and the Ghostbuster name, and Dan Aykroyd's executive producer, and he's really not doing anything else. I really believe in the movie where he's just like, I love this. When he says that, I'm like, I bet
Yeah.
you do.
I bet you
I bet you
do.
do. That's money for you. So I don't think, given all the parties involved, no, they're
Yeah.
not going to stop. I don't know. Do you agree?
Yeah. Well, I don't think they will either, but they've gotta try to improve on it. Now I heard that Jason Reitman, his dad did die in 22, right
Mm.
after Afterlife. And I did read that he just didn't have it in him to direct this one. And that, even being on the set and stuff was sad for him. So I don't know if he was originally planning to direct the second one or not, but apparently it was gonna be too hard for him to do that. So,
I could see
and who
that.
knows? I too. I Poor guy. And of
Yeah,
course,
right.
you know, I don't think this is giving away anything either. The movie is dedicated to Ivan. So,
Yeah.
um, like the first one was dedicated to Harold Ramis, and then this one's for Ivan. I think that who knows? Maybe I don't know if Jason's directorial, or directing would have changed anything much either. I don't know. I mean, he co-wrote the story with Gil Kenan, who
Right.
directed it. So, it's really more about the story than it is about anything else. Because I thought the special effects and all that they were all great. I mean, it
Hmm.
looked good. Um, but yeah, it was really just more about the story and how it just wasn't quippy and funny enough for me, and kind of muddled in parts. So I'm hoping, like I said, the best part was when Bill Murray showed up, and that's saying something. I
He
mean,
literally, he literally
it
like,
did.
what an entrance.
And it kind of was weird. It's like he was there for a second and then he was gone again. I'm like, well, why was he there? And is he part of this whole thing? And I mean,
Where did he
really,
go?
I know the main part of the main OG, and it was Dan Aykroyd. He kind of was carrying it
Mhm.
for that, and which made sense too. He has this shop and whatnot, and then Ernie Hudson's. I kind of liked the whole lab thing. I'm thinking, all right, that's interesting. It kind of reminded me like you know for some reason Cabin in the Woods,
Mm.
where they have all of the horrible things locked up in little cages and stuff. That lab sort of reminded me of that a little bit. You know, because there's some stuff going on in the lab more than just researching the the ghosts and everything. So I kind of thought that was cool, and I'm thinking maybe that could be a part of moving forward. I didn't mind that at all. But like I said,
Actually,
ultimately, go ahead.
actually, in this day and age, that whole part of this world can make for a great streaming series.
Yes,
There you go.
I'm telling you, Joel. Don't know why
Uh,
we don't have our own production
kind of
company.
seriously.
So anyway, what rating would you give Ghostbusters Frozen Empire?
2.5. I
Ooh,
mean, there were some fun moments, but I have very little patience for retreading. I think it's lazy. Um, but
that's a fair point. Fair point. I
just a,
I think I'm going to go a little higher. I'm going to go 3.5, just because I did ultimately have a fun time with it, but I felt it lacked in some areas there that I wished it had spruced up a little bit. So I was right. I was riding the nostalgia coattails a little too hard, I think. But maybe if I see it again, I might change my mind. But right now, I'd give it a 3.5. So anyway, um, moving forward, I'm going to quickly. I don't think you got a chance to see it. Did you see Roadhouse?
The original,
But you didn't see this latest one with Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Okay.
not yet.
So yeah, they remade this movie, Roadhouse. I did actually watch the original, so I'm not entirely familiar with the original, but I know it's sort of a cult classic in a sense. Obviously, a Patrick Swayze favorite for many people. Um, and the premise is basically the same with this one. Jake Gyllenhaal, who's now the bouncer guy. He is an ex. The story is he plays an ex UFC fighter who takes a job as a bouncer at a Florida Keys roadhouse, only to discover that this paradise is not at all it seems. Blah blah blah. Directed by Doug Liman, so it's got that going for it. And it also stars Daniela Melchior, Conor McGregor, who I guess is another MMA fighter or something.
Mm-hmm.
He was wild in this. Billy Magnuson, Jessica Williams, who I am currently I just think she's fantastic, although she didn't have nearly enough to do in this movie than she did in Shrinking, which I think she's just fantastic in. And also Walking de la Media. I haven't seen him in a while. Lucas Gage is in it as well. So I thought it was okay. It's first of all, Jake Gyllenhaal is just jacked. My God, the amount of whatever he had to go into to play this part, holy hell! And they spend as much time as possible showing how jacked he is. I mean, he doesn't have his wrong in a lot of it. And he has this kind of dark past, and he ends up, he's fighting, on the side for money or whatever. And Jessica Williams' character, she owns this roadhouse in the Keys, and she's having issues keeping the rowdies out of her bar, and she wants to have someone come and really, take control and keep these guys out of her bar because they just keep, damaging it time and time again. So she sees Jake Gyllenhaal. She offers him this job. He's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. But he ends up going anyway. And starts doing the bouncing thing, and you come to find out that there's some alternative motives to try to make the roadhouse go under. This Billy Magnuson's character, he's like a rich boy, and he's trying to do something else with this little part of the Keys called Glass Key. So I mean, it is pretty stereotypical, not much surprising, except for this guy, Conor McGregor, who ends up coming in because no one can beat Jake Gyllenhaal's character, Dalton. They can't. He just, he's just so badass that he defeats every person that comes in there trying to take over, except for this guy, Conor. And they have some major, major knockdown dragouts in this. But yeah, I mean, great. It's not even close to being great. But I feel like for an Amazon Prime movie, if you want to watch something, mindless on the weekend, this might be fun to do. Now, people who are absolute fans of the original Roadhouse, I'm not entirely sure how they'll feel about this. Also, I'm also curious on why Jake actually took this movie. It just doesn't seem like something he would do, right?
I think the answer lies in Doug Liman.
Ah,
I think you get in with Doug, and he's been known to direct films that feature actors in their 40s and 50s, and Jake's going down that road. So
yeah.
getting good with him, and he'll come back around. I don't know. That's the only reason I can think of, because it's a thankless job.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze that just is so adored, and As
Right.
much as people love him in Dirty Dancing, a different group of people love him in Roadhouse,
Oh,
and
I know. I know.
it it's a thankless endeavor. And I think, Amazon Prime is probably the perfect arena where it's a safe space to do something like this. And just be like, well, we're paying tribute, whatever. But like, yeah, and I'm judging by like how he is on the poster. I don't think you get as jacked as Jake is in this movie. You don't show it a lot. Like, hey, I earned these moments on screen. Let's show it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's definitely not Doug Lyman's best by any stretch. I think, but you know what? He's directed some stinkers. He's
Hmm.
not foolproof. He Jumper, which actually I thought was kind of fun, but again, kind of stupid. And all in all, that was definitely considered not so great on his end. But I mean, but he's done Edge of Tomorrow, which is just, I mean, he really does have a good sense of the action sequences. I mean, he definitely gets that, and those scenes were particularly good. Just how they were framed, how they were done, and the fighting and all of that. It's raw. But I just kept thinking to myself, why is Jake Gyllenhaal doing this movie? Why is he doing this? Did he just want to get in good shape? What's going on here? But you're right. It might have been Lyman's, pedigree that he was following up on, but it's not, it's really not. In fact, what has it got on Rotten Tomatoes? Let me see. I don't think it's very good. Hold on. If I can find it here. Um, new one streaming. Oh, it's got a 63%. So, you know, not bad. It's definitely on the plus side of things. Like I said, it's kind of mindless entertainment that I found not offensive in any way. It's just kind of a stupid story and very predictable. Some good people in it that are just sort of wasted. And Jake, he pulls it off, and he's also super. He's like a kind person in the film too. So, even though he's kind of has this dark past with his UFC fighting thing, he still has a genuine heart of gold kind of thing. So I kind of like that too. And he portrays that well, and he looks good. He did it. I
Yeah.
don't. Can you imagine though? Just how you get your body that sculpted. I don't. It's hard for me to fathom that. How that works. Anyway, all right. So I would give it. Actually, I would also give it a solid 3.5. Um, again, just for all the things I said, it's just kind of mindless fun to have on, but if you are a hardcore fan of the first one, you might not like it. I don't know. Who knows? I don't even know what happens in the first one. He's just a bouncer, or did he come from something else? Did he have a troubled past?
I, yeah, but it's like like Cocktail is a celebration of the bartender, Roadhouse
Right.
is a celebration of the bouncer, and it's this whole world. And what's his name? Sam Elliott mentors Patrick Swayze, and it's their
Uh,
whole relationship. And I guess like Sam Elliott is like the super bouncer. There's a Hall of Fame. He'd be like the first one in, like the best bouncer of all time,
uh,
and it's kind of,
oh, wait a minute.
set up to
Reading the
basically showcase
premise,
how important the bouncer is in the
just reading the log line here. It says a bouncer hired to clean up the baddest honky tonk in a Missouri town, armed with a black belt in
Mhm.
karate and a PhD in philosophy.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna
No,
have to watch this.
there are many scenes with him with his shirt off in karate pants doing karate slash meditating. He meditates by day and kicks butt at night.
Kicks ass by night. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. That's hilarious. I may have to watch
Classic.
this thing.
And it always
Classic.
reminds me of Family Guy, because Peter, the main dad on that show, loves Roadhouse, and they work it in at some point, just out of the blue, he'll just go Roadhouse.
That's kind of, you know what, my kids really love that show, and I've watched a few episodes of it. I never watched it regularly, but it generally made me laugh out loud at least once.
It's so smart.
Seth MacFarlane is something else, man. He really is. Anyway, okay, so we digress. So yeah, so that's it for us today, I think. Some mindless entertainment if you want to over the weekend, but if you are a Ghostbusters fan, you probably will like it, but you may also be disappointed. So I guess it will just depend on your thing. And then also, newcomers to Ghostbusters, they actually might like it more because it does have a kind of a youthful feel to it, and the kids, McKenna and Finn and whatnot, they're all out on social right now and doing TikToks, and that always helps bring kids in. Like Dune 2, I'm sorry, but that social media campaign with the four of them on the tour and doing TikToks, I'm telling you, that helped that movie 100%.
Mhm.
Watching them all cut up, and they'd answer questions on TikTok and all of that. So, and now I'm seeing McKenna and Finn doing the same kind of thing. I'm like, well, that's going to bring in audiences. I mean, it really does. It works. That kind of stuff works. So, anyway, that's it for us. Next
Yep,
week, hopefully, we'll get a chance to do next week. But we've got a big Godzilla Kong movie coming out next
we
week.
do. Yes, and I'm very curious for this because I absolutely love the Apple TV show
I
Monarch.
did too. I really
I mean,
liked
that
it.
shocked me. It was so good.
It
And
was.
I'm just kind of curious where we're going cinematically after that great show. So
So are we?
um,
Is it all starting to tie in? Because I mean, the show kind
I
of
think so.
tied in with the
Yeah.
movies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it
Okay.
picked up with John Goodman. That's how it started.
Yeah.
Um, from the last Kong movie. So,
Right.
or Godzilla.
Right.
So yeah. No, I'm not. Normally, I wouldn't be Godzilla. Like I like Godzilla. I like Kong. I like them enough. But like after that show, I'm kind of excited to see this movie next week.
I know, and I want them to work together. I mean,
Yeah. No,
that's the key. That's the
that's the
key.
crux of the movie. That's they don't have to like each other. It's in the trailer.
No,
They don't
they
have to
don't.
like each other. They just have to work together. Like, hey, I know him from work.
Hey, I know that guy.
I know that guy from work.
Thor Ragnarok. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you, Joel. Of course, you can also check out Joel's reviews on his site, themoviemensch.com. Thank you again, my friend, and we will talk to you all very soon. Take care. Bye bye.